Hello and welcome to the Now Spinning Magazine podcast with me, Phil Aston. And on this episode, I'm delighted to welcome vocalist and multi-instrumentalist Nad Sylvan. Nad is a truly distinctive voice in progressive rock. Many of my listeners and viewers will know him as the charismatic frontman for the Steve Hackett band, bringing Genesis classics to life around the world. But Nad is also an extraordinary solo artist, in his own right, creating music that is rich in atmosphere, storytelling, and emotion. And I want to talk today about Monumentata, a deeply personal record that draws on family, memory, and legacy, with both your father and your mother inspiring some of the themes in the lyrics. It's an album that feels like both a reflection and a monument to the past, but also carrying your music forwards. Welcome.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction. One of the nicest ever.
Thank you. Now, I have to, before we move on to the album, you're about to embark on a tour of the USA with the Steve Hackett band. And I know that whenever Steve Hackett goes on tour, the schedule for the dates is intense. I just wonder, how do you mentally and physically prepare for a tour like this?
I don't. No, I just take it as it comes, really. I play it by ear. I looked through this schedule, and I must say it's a very. I mean, we're going to be there for 7 weeks.
Yeah,
and 29 shows, and you divide that with how many days is there in 7 weeks? You know what I mean? It's not every day. We have a couple of days off here and there.
Yeah,
and so I do get to rest in between shows, and I also get to see my cousin who lives in Bainbridge Island, just like outside Seattle.
Yeah.
For some reason, we always have a couple of days off before the Seattle show, so I spend quality time with my cousin.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, you know, my father was American, so it's his brother's son.
Monumentata is a very personal album. I mean, the record is behind me for those of you watching on YouTube. And when I read the inside of the gatefold sleeve about that story about your dad, you know, coming to see you, but, you know, drinking too much, and the next morning you arranged to have breakfast and he wasn't there.
No.
It's a very personal album. Yeah. Was that story, and you obviously put it in the gatefold sleeve, and I think it's probably a story that's probably helped people around the world in ways that you probably can't even envisage, who've been through similar things. Was this a really intrinsic part of this album coming together?
Sorry, I lost you for a bit there. You asked last question.
This story, the one that's in the gatefold sleeve, was it an intrinsic part of how the album came together?
Oh, I don't know the word intrinsic. You remember my name, I'm Swedish, so I don't know what that means.
Was it kind of a major part of how the thought process of how you constructed the album?
Both yes and no. The songs were conceived, written, and recorded during a period of three years, I believe. Right. And when I started out, I had no idea where I was going. I just, heard music in my head and just know that Wildfire was one of the first ones I started to work on.
One of my favorite tracks, actually, from the album.
It took a long while. I actually took out the intro and the outro and changed that. And it took a while for me to finish that song, but it paid off, it really paid off. At that time, I had no idea where I was going with this album. It wasn't until I started to envision the travels that my parents did when let's say when my mother was expecting me.
Yeah.
They went all over the world and a couple of times to Monte Carlo. So that was sort of what intrigued me to write a song about Monte Carlo, Priceless, that's the name of the song. Yeah. But the story is not about my mother per se, but it could have been, because there's some similarities, because there was an abusive relationship in some ways, because of my dad's drinking problem.
Yeah.
And mom was very, very young. But of course, my mom didn't turn out. She did not have a facelift. She was too young, and she didn't turn out to be a prostitute either. That's the story of that song. But then, as my father passed away in July last year of age of 96, that I had a song that I was working on. I didn't know where that was going to go, but it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. I suddenly changed the chorus, and I just heard the monumental. And I just remember my dad saying, "Oh, you could call me Tarta because that's Hungarian for daddy."
Right.
And my dad was half Hungarian, and so Monumentata, because the feeling of him being gone and my mother gone was a monumental feeling. So that's how that evolved. Then I had like a theme for the album, if you like.
Yeah.
And I also thought bringing up more from my own life in this context, such as my sexuality or the loss and the letdowns of failed relationships and stuff like that. Because if I can connect with fans in a more real way, other than just storytelling of something, ancient or whatever, I felt that maybe they can relate a bit more to me and my lyrics, and I can relate to it much more too. So
yeah,
that's why it evolved the way it did.
I think that because I know Steve talks about music being like a healing force, and it says the Now Spinning magazine kind of strapline is "Music is the healer and the doctor," and I do wonder whether the lyrics that you have in that particular title track of the album, does it in any way help reconcile or heal the kind of bridge between you and your father at all?
Does it? I think the lyrics came, on the fly, which just like that. I just digged out from my life how it felt. And, I mean, for instance, the opening lines are from that morning when he didn't show up at breakfast. Did you say you had to leave?
Yeah.
So would you stick to what's agreed? No. And healing, maybe, but I sort of, I've been through that for quite some time now. You must remember, I haven't seen my dad since 2016. That's when that happened.
That's when that happened.
That was the last time I saw him in Los Angeles. So I've been through that already. But I felt like, reflecting on it and sing about it.
But because as a musician, a creative person, you have a level of sensitivity that comes with that as a job, as a creative force. When that happened, going back to 2016,
yes,
did you have a gig that night, or had you got one in a couple of days' time? I mean,
yeah, we were having dinner at the hotel's restaurant, and after that, I had to leave a little earlier because we had the show to do. So,
yeah.
And Dad was there. He's driven all the way from Palm Desert, where he lived,
which is a long way, yeah,
to see the show. But he had a little too much to drink, and at the time he was 87.
Right.
So he had a little too much to drink, and well, maybe it was 86. Anyway, he did go. They did take him to the theater, but he was sort of gone in his head, and he left before I came on stage.
Yeah.
And so, it was the same night.
So, because it's not we think about many people who have normal jobs. You can be going away and you might be making coffee mugs for a living or something, and you can have something emotionally happen in your life, and you can have that going on in your mind while you continue to make the coffee mugs. But as a performer, as an artist, you had to go on stage with all those emotions swirling around your mind. Do you and then you have to play the part of the entertainer and the storyteller. Is that something that affected or influenced the way you performed in any way, either then or since?
Not really. I didn't know that he had gone. I didn't know they had left. So
I see. Yeah.
I thought he was there. So no, that didn't change. But I've gone through other situations where it's been difficult to go up on stage and perform because of, I don't know, somebody having a go, or before the show it's just like strange vibes and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very intense thing to be touring, you know, and
yeah,
people get a little too close sometimes, and you know, it's like a family. Let's put it like that. You know, it's like a family. But on the whole, I must say, like that's like 1% of the whole bit of touring. You know, it's always a joy to go up on stage and sing. Always a joy.
and when you on this album, because you play obviously literally everything: keyboards, acoustic, electric guitars. When the music comes together, do you
Yeah.
find that do you write predominantly on keyboards or guitar, or does the music start to evolve in your mind and imagination? Imagination.
Yeah. Usually, I get ideas in my head, and just even though I'm not even near an instrument, I can just hum those ideas into my phone. You know, dictation thing, and so I have like a vast library of just you know, stuff. I have so many. That's where I dig them from, and then I just know that, oh, this got to go on guitar, or and I just find my way through what to use and how to use it. Some songs are actually written on guitar, bits like this is the second track. That's not me. That guitar riff, I was just playing along. You know, I'm just
Yeah.
found something that I wanted to work on, and Monte Carlo Priceless, also like a classic. I was just strumming my acoustic guitar one night, and I had the verses. Very easy, not hard to play, but it sounds to me kind of sophisticated where that goes.
And
I don't sit and struggle. I don't sit by the keyboards and tell what am I going to do. It comes to me from, I don't know, from heaven above. I don't know where it comes from. It just comes.
wow. And so the music arrives, and then so the lyrics obviously come. Do sometimes the lyrics come first, or is it always once you've got the music kind of planned out, the words kind of float over the top of the chord sequences?
I know that Elton John works that way, that the lyrics comes first and then he's, you know, put that
Yeah.
to music. With me, that only happened once, and maybe I should try to go a bit more. I mean, use that bit more. It was a song I did called "What Have You Done" for my second album.
Yeah.
The ballad. The lyrics were done first with Jadel and myself, and the music came the day after, because it had a rhythm that was easy to write a melody to. You know, usually the lyrics come last, and that's a completely different part of my brain that would do that. And I think because if you already have a finished lyric, you're sort of limited to a certain phrasing. You can't go in and change the melody, or you can't, which I normally don't do that much anyway. I mean, I'm kind of first take kind of guy. I mean, what I get first is obviously there for a reason, and it hasn't been tampered with, so it's all natural, you know.
Yeah. So that means that the music must influence the kind of lyrical story that's going to emerge.
Yeah.
Because if you wrote the lyrics first, that might alter the way that the music might evolve because of the way that the story that the lyrics are telling.
Very true. I feel. I just feel that the melody should, or the lyric should sort of, you should, no, let's put it this right. You could feel when you hear the music alone, probably what it's going to be about, the lyrical content. The music has to reflect the lyrics, the emotions, the vibe.
Yes.
That's how I feel. So I tend to wait until I have sort of the song basically fully structured, and even got some of the arrangements down already, until I start writing the lyrics, and I can just sense, oh, this has to be about my dad, or this has to be about that.
Yeah, interesting, because I love the opening song "Secret Lover," which is driven by a great guitar riff. For example,
I had that riff in my head for a long time before I started to record the track.
That's fascinating to know. And then that's what I mean. Flowerland is another one of my favorites, which is it sounds like it's about lost love or first love.
But yeah. It's about an old hippie couple reminiscing over the youth. They're still together. And like I said in various interviews, they probably went to Woodstock back in the days and dropped acid and smoking pot. There's old hippies, but they're still together and still curious about life. That's actually one of my absolute favorites from the album, because the weird thing about Flowerland, you're not quite sure what is the verse or what is the bridge or what is the chorus. It's just being linked together in a very special way. And sort of, I don't know, I find it fascinating because it just came to me like music do.
Yes, it's very true. And I mean, if your parents could hear Monumentata now, what do you think their reaction would be to it?
Well, my dad was never fond of my music. He didn't understand it, even though he was very musical. He played the violin when he was young, and he could whistle and he can sing. He even went to national television whistling, because he would whistle and smile at the same time. Like,
wow.
He was very musical, but he just didn't understand. My mom was more inclined to. She was my number one fan.
Mm.
She would have been so happy and so proud of me, of course, knowing what happened, because she died 3 years prior to Steve contacting me when things started to happen for me. Because you must know, I had been struggling with my music for about 40 years before anything happened.
40 years?
Yeah, since 73.
Wow. So this is one of those life lessons that you should just keep going and never give up.
Yeah, I mean, but see, I would have still been into music and writing songs and recording them, even though I would never get a record deal, because it's part of my vocabulary,
Yeah.
Music has always been there. I actually started playing piano when I was about 5, and I even composed back then, but I didn't sing until I started singing when I was 13 or 14.
Yeah.
I found my voice, so to speak, and it's been a constant evolution, my singing. I mean, if you compare my singing on the earlier recordings and up until now, you can hear there is a difference in timbre or expressions or stuff. So I'm always looking for new ways of singing.
I think when you say in the gatefold sleeve about that you're an orphan now, losing both your parents, I think that's the kind of thing, because you sing with Steve Hackett, and Steve Hackett's audience is an older demographic as well.
Yeah.
That many people will identify with that. I mean, I know I personally do, having lost both my mum and my dad, and I think that for me personally, as a music fan and as a fan of your music, Nad, and obviously Steve's, is that the music takes on a deeper emotional feeling, even the classic Genesis songs, than they did when I heard them as a young teenager. And you feel that with your has been playing and singing in the Steve Hackett band, has this influenced the way you've approached your solo music?
That's a rather interesting question. I don't really know how to respond, because subconsciously maybe it has in me. I can't really say. I've always had music in my head. I just remember when I did the first album from Inside Out, these 5 I've done on Inside Out, album called Courting the Widow. I've taken a year off from writing back in 2008. I've released an album called Uniform back then with which was a complete Genesis pastiche that we did just for fun and games. We had no idea we were going to get signed. We just, let's try to sound like Genesis. Yeah, why not? Because I've given up the idea of becoming a professional musician. It wasn't in the cards for me at that time.
Yeah.
So going in to start to write for Courting the Widow, I was very much still in the Uniform world, if you like. The mindset still had the synth sounds, Genesis sounds up, like the ARP Pro Soloist and the ARP 2600 and all of that. And I was been touring with Steve for 2 years, and I was completely in the Genesis world.
Yeah.
So of course that had an impact on my songwriting, but slowly but surely I tried to stand a bit more on my own feet and find out what I really want to do as an artist. And I feel the Bride Said No as a little bit more of the R&B side of myself and the funk.
Yeah.
As well as the prog rock, So I love to combine those elements, the R&B, soulful, not the current R&B. That's not for me at all. But
yeah,
the
60s.
Yeah. 60s, 70s kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Merge that with prog rock. I don't hear many prog rock bands doing that. I guess that's pretty much I'm alone in that field.
Which is interesting, because obviously the music needs soul, and any music needs soul to transfer the emotion from you, the creative person, to the listener. So it is interesting. So you don't have to consciously switch voices from when you're with the Steve Hackett band to when you do your own music.
Well, when I do my own music, the songs are tailor-made for my voice.
Of course.
The key and everything. I tend to sing a bit lower than when I do the Genesis stuff, because you have to keep in mind those songs, they were recorded by both Pete and Phil while they were in the 20s.
Exactly.
And I'm in my 60s.
Yeah.
And as you get older, the voice tends to go down a bit further. Past every year, it goes a little lower. So today I'm a natural baritone singer.
Yeah.
So I have to sort of reinvent my singing technique. I had to in order to hit those really high notes in the Genesis repertoire. I don't think I would try to go that way with my own stuff, because I don't have to. And I made an album before this one called Spiritus Mundi with Andrew Latris, where I'm completely in baritone mode throughout the whole album. And that's sort of my home today.
When you sing the Genesis songs and you look out into the audience and you can see the impact that these songs have, almost like they're like the new version of classical music, and that they're so ingrained in people's minds, and because everyone has been through a lot of life and probably a lot of loss so these songs like Supper's Ready or other ones that you do, you can probably see the glistening eyes from some of the audience.
I have a lovely short story for you.
Oh, please.
We just did an Italian tour, and we played this city of Vicenza. It was a huge square. I don't know how many thousands of people were there. We're just like a lot of people. And so we came back out to do Supper's Ready. And I've seen this guy sitting right in front of me.
Yeah.
Sharing and being totally into the music. And he must have been in his 60s, like myself, somewhere around that age group. And as soon as I started singing, walking across the sitting room, he just fell down on his knees, crying. And I saw that, and my voice broke. I couldn't, walking across this. Must have sounded really awkward, but that just hit me hard right here in my heart. It's the only time that ever happened to me. So yes, of course, we are doing. Well, sometimes Steve says, now we're going to open the museum doors,
Yeah.
and because we're singing the music from our audiences, their youth, basically,
Yeah.
they grew up with, and they keep on coming back just to get their Genesis fix. Because, as you know, Steve is the only one out there doing it now from the original five piece lineup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, and Circus of the Night Whale is one of my favorite albums, and it's the most recent one from Steve Hackett's. But I also think, going back to your superb latest solo album, Nad, is again because you're a musician in your 60s. In fact, we're exactly the same age, me and you.
You're born in 59,
66. It's the best year. It's the best age to be. I think lyrically, your album really connects on so many different levels. And I think the experience of life really touches you as you go through. And I think that's something that not just the title track, which obviously is very emotive because of what it's about.
Yes.
I mean, specifically, lines like what I'll be next in line. I mean, I could be interpreting this wrongly, but to me, that felt like with passing of my parents, I'm the next in line.
Yeah.
And that's what it.
I'm basically, to be very, blunt. I'm the next one to die.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. But it doesn't necessarily has to be so, because I do have a couple of siblings, and I'm just, and we're kind of close age-wise, but it doesn't matter. If you go with, I'm the oldest of all the siblings. So that's how I feel. I'm probably next one to go. But, hey, if I get to live as long as my dad lives.
Yeah, well, exactly.
That's 30 years away.
Exactly. You've had a long kind of and varied journey. As you say, it took you 40 years to be able to do this as a profession, and you've kept that dream alive. And then you had that call from Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, so everything from Uniform to Agents of Mercy to Steve, and now this superb latest solo album. Looking back, do you see a thread that connects all this together?
Well, it must be to keep the dream alive, of course. I call it the hungry years, when you're struggling and you don't have any success, and you want to prove yourself, and you prove how great you are, and all of that, and nothing still happens. No record label wanted to sign me because I wasn't the flavor of the day. And Sweden's been a very, very hard country to establish yourself, especially if you go your own way, if you don't care. Like, I'm not very much into trends.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more into doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And I still am. I don't listen to contemporary music at all. I don't care. I listen to a lot of old records, like, Seals and Crofts or Joni Mitchell, or I listen to old radio stations sometimes. And it's so lovely to, every song they're going to play. You just and so you have a vast history of that connects with lots and lots of music you heard. Not to say I'm not interested in new music if it speaks to me.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, I've heard Jacko Jackson's latest album, Son of Glenn, which I think is fabulous. I played it many times. And that's always a nice feeling when you can connect with a new album.
One of the things as we go through life, and if we do find ourselves on a journey that sometimes can be a struggle, is that we can become cynical and not have that sense of wonder we had when we were very young, and everything seemed to be a possibility that it might happen. I mean, you've obviously retained your sense of wonder and belief. What have you? I mean, obviously along the way you've probably tripped over a few times as well, but you seem to have maintained it. How did you keep your dream alive?
Oh,
that's a big question, isn't it?
You come up with some really interesting questions here. How did I maintain that dream? Stubbornness.
Yeah.
Definitely stubbornness. I'm stubbornness. Wow. Once I set my mind to something,
yeah,
I'm very much a project thinker. I haven't touched the studio in months because now it's the garden. It has to be perfect. It has to be. There's all the flowers, and then it's the boat that has to be done. Go full in. So and now it's music time. And you can't get me out of the studio. And so that's how it works for me. So I'm stubborn. And but also the thing is with the music, I was always a strong believer in myself, but also very self-critical. It just has to be right. It just has to sound right. And I'll wait until I get it right. I just hang on in there until I get it right.
Fantastic. Well, Nad, if people want to find out more about you, they can go to nadsylvan.com, where they can buy your album, Monumentata, directly from you, can't they?
They can, but they will not be able to do that while I'm on tour because I handle everything myself.
Good point. Good point.
I will bring the CDs with me on the road to America now.
Okay, brilliant.
CDs with me, signed and with watch and all. So,
well, thank you for joining me and sharing the stories behind the album. It's a remarkable album. It's intimate, it's emotional, it's a real testament to your journey as both an artist and a son. And I know many fans will connect deeply with the themes that you've explored on this album. So I just want to wish you all the best of luck for the US tour with Steve Hackett. And your voice continues to bring such power and soul to these Genesis classics. But I'm sure the audience will also be eager to discover Monumentata as well. So thank you for your time now today. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're most welcome. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Well, good luck, and hopefully you have a safe journey over there. We'll talk again in the future. Thank you.
All right. Let's hope we do. Okay.
Thank you. A huge thank you to my guest, Nad Sylvan. This album, Monumentata, is a really emotive record. I think when I reviewed it, I read out the story from inside of it about Nad's parents. And it's incredibly moving story. It's incredibly sad. And there are parts of that kind of dip in and out of the songs lyrically. Obviously, the title track, really lands completely on that. But I feel that overall, the music is incredibly positive. It was wonderful talking to Nad and hearing how the music comes first and the whole tune emerges in his mind, and the fact that Nad is a multi-instrumentalist. So there are guest artists on here playing bass and drums, etc. But everything is by Nad Sylvan himself. And then the way the lyrics come and blend in and literally land on top of the kind of musical kind of textures and stories that he's felt and heard in his mind. This is a wonderful record. It does have prog aspects to it, and there is, if you like Genesis, you will pick up some elements of that. But as Nad said in our interview, he also loves soul, and there is a lot of soul which gives his voice this really deep and introspective, which I know is a word that, Nad's Swedish, didn't quite understand the context of what I was saying there. But what I'm saying here is that it helps the music on this album go from the creator, Nad Sylvan, to you, the listener, and land directly in your heart center, if you like. It's a wonderful album, and I really think that lyrically it will help a lot of people. I mean, I said during the interview, the poet said, "I'm orphaned now." And I know what that feels like. But I love this album. There are so many songs. Flowerland, which is one of Nad's favorites, which is about, two people looking back, who falling in love, who looking back on their life. There are so many high points on this record. And Secret Lover has got an absolute killer guitar riff. So Nad Sylvan, this album, Monumentata, is out now, and go to the website, nadsylvan.com. There's a whole raft of albums to explore there. But of course, many of you know Nad from his wonderful work he does with the Steve Hackett Band. Absolutely fantastic interpretations of those Genesis classic tracks. So thank you for watching, and thank you for listening to this, the Now Spinning Magazine podcast. Check out the website at nowspinning.co.uk. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're everywhere, on all social media channels. And if you want to get closer to us, you can become a YouTube member or a patron, and you'll get access to our own private music communities full of like-minded people from around the world, and also come to our own virtual pub called the Now Spinning Arms, which meets up twice a month via Zoom. And we do merch and stuff as well. But thank you, all of you. Remember, Music is the healer and the doctor. Keep spinning those discs, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.